Hey guys, this video is part 2 of my 2-day market. So if you didn't watch the first one, I will put it up here. So click on that one and watch it first so you will know what I'm talking about. So that video was about the first day and this video is about the second day of the market. Like I told you in the last video, everything was going crazy around this market. So the market itself went pretty well, but everything else like in my life around it was going crazy. So after the first day of that market, I went home and I was tired and the air conditioner was still broken. So anyways, I went home, I was so tired, I took a shower and it was so hot, so I had to take a cold shower. And then after I got out, I went to blow dry my hair. And this is the next crazy thing that happened. When I was trying to blow dry my hair, my blow dryer was trying to spark and catch on fire. And so then once I realized, I turned it off and then I wasn't able to finish drying my hair. And like my hair is so long and so thick that it takes forever to dry. So that was frustrating. And I was just like, how can like everything, it just was one of those days where it just felt like everything that could go wrong went wrong. That was this weekend. Then I was just relaxing and crocheting and I kept looking at the clock to see what time it was, but I wasn't really like paying that much attention to it. And I was like, I'm going to try to go to bed at 10 because I know I have to wake up early tomorrow. And then I eventually realized that the clock I was looking at, apparently the batteries died in it, and so it was much later than I thought it was. And so I was just like, what in the world is happening? So it ended up, I accidentally stayed up a lot later than I meant to. And so I did not get very much sleep again because of that. But anyways, going into the market. So this market was unique in that for the second day, they had a breakfast for all of the vendors, which was cool. I have never been to a market that did that. I have done a market before that had the option you could like order a lunch and they would bring it to you, but I've never had one that just provides a free meal. So it was a breakfast and it was at Fuzzy's Tacos, which I'm not sure if that one is just in Oklahoma. I want to say it's probably in other places also because there are a lot of locations of it here at least. So we walked over there to Fuzzy's Tacos and we got to eat some breakfast burritos and they were pretty good. And then we walked back over to the tent and we went to the car and got everything and set up again for the second day. This day did feel a bit cooler, which was very nice. I was glad about that, but it was a bit windier also. So we ended up leaving 2 of the walls up because we did not want the wind to blow anything away. And there was a bigger chance of rain this day, so I also was worried that if it started raining that the plushies could get wet, so we went ahead and left the 2 walls up. On this day, the time for this market was 11 to 6. So the first day was 10 to 6 and this one was 11 to 6. So I was trying to get more vlogging content in this video. Like I've said before, I really want to get more vlogging at the markets, but there's usually music playing and then I can't really talk in the video or whatever. So anyways, I got some footage of me setting up the booth a little bit. So I will put that in. Here I am setting up the booth. I usually like to put all of the small items out first and I keep those in a separate tote from the larger ones. So here I am putting the small ones out. And I kind of have a specific order that I put everything in the baskets and I make sure that they're all turned to the front. I don't usually get a video of me setting up, so let me know if you guys like this or if you don't, so I'll know whether I should get some more videos like this of setting up. There were some other vendors and just some other people walking around that did stop by to check out my booth while I was still setting up. And the angle isn't really the best because I did not bring my tripod with me. I just set it up on my squares that I put the plushies on and tried to get a decent angle. so cute. Thank you. That was super cute. This kid said he wants to learn how to make these. This is what my booth looked like for the beginning of the second day. So I had a few things that were running low on stock, like the chicks, and I was out of the mini roosters. And then I only had 3 of the small cats and only 1 large and 1 medium loaf cat. But the rest of my stock was okay. And while I was still setting up the booth, a lot of people were coming over and were interested in my products, which was awesome. But I had forgotten my money at home. So whenever we got home yesterday, I had taken the money bag out to count everything and leave just the change that I needed in it. And then I forgot to put it back in my bag. So I left that at home. And luckily I realized before the market started, so I sent my boyfriend home to get it. And while he was gone, there were people trying to purchase things. And I was like, I'm sorry, it's at home. And it also had my square reader in it, so I couldn't sell anything for a bit. But one person did have exact change, so I did sell 1 item before the market started, and that was a corn, and it sold for $20. And then for one of the other people, I held one of the items back for them, and I told them to just come back in a little bit and I would have my money. So they did come back and get that one later. So the first thing that I sold once the market officially started was the mini chick, and it sold for $12. Now, at the end of the day yesterday, I believe I only had 2 mini chicks left, so I was working on some of those. I had crocheted a lot the night before, but I didn't have my safety eyes, so once I got to the market and I had everything, then I started working on finishing some items. So that was the first thing that I started working on, was finishing the chicks. Then I sold my large loaf cat, and it sold for $40. It was a tan variegated one, and this was the only large one that I had left for this market. And I sold my snake, and this was a blue variegated one. I was really excited to sell this one because I think this is only the second market that I've ever put my snake out at, and it sold for $40. Oh, I was glad that somebody really liked it. I do have another one, but I thought about putting it out, but I had left it at home, so maybe for my next market I will bring the other one. Next, I sold one of my small cats, and this was a Premier Yarn variegated tan and gray and white one. So this was the first cat that I have made with this yarn. And at the end of the day before this, I ended the market only having, I believe, 2 or 3 loaf cats left. So that was the other item that I was working on. I crocheted some the night before and was finishing those in the morning while I was there. Next, I sold an axolotl, and it was a purple speckled one. And then that same person also got a purple speckled Octo, so they were both matching, and those sold together for $32. Now we are at noon, and our total is $159, which I think that was really good for the first hour of the day. Next, I sold a slice of watermelon, and this one sold for $15. Next, I sold one of my medium loaf cats. So like I said, I ran out of the large loaf cats, and then I finished 2 of the medium loaf cats while I was sitting there, and then I already had 1 there. So there were 3 of the medium loaf cats this day, and now I sold one of them, and it was the tan mystical cat, which is this yarn right here. That's what I used. And then that same person also got a purple axolotl, and those sold for $50 total. Then I sold another axolotl, and this was a pink speckled one, and it sold for $20. And now we are at 1 p.m. and our total is $244. So I felt like we were doing great at this point. Then I sold another small cat, and this was the light tan variegated one. Next, I sold another axolotl, and this was a blue speckled one. Then I sold one of my stickers, and this was the dog sticker, and it sold for $3. And next, I sold one of my large dinos. I was really glad to sell this one because I sold these super well at the beginning of last year. They were like flying off the shelf, and now I've had a few that have just been sitting here for a while, and some people have been kind of interested in them, but nobody had bought them yet. So I was really glad to sell this one. This was the pink variegated one, and this is made with the Lion Brand cover story yarn. And so it sold for $50. This one I do charge a little more for this one because that yarn is harder to work with and it turns out larger than with the regular yarn that I use. Now we are at 2 p.m. and our total is $332. And then I sold another one of my medium loaf cats, and this was one that I just finished and put out there. It was the tan variegated one with orange eyes, and I really like how this one turned out. So that sold for $30. Then I sold a corn, and this one was with the variegated green husk and the white and yellow for the corn, and it sold for $20. Next I sold a strawberry, and also that same person got a cactus, and this was the solid green one. And I was glad to sell the cactus because I've had them around for a while. One of those items that I don't really love, so I don't put it out at every market. I haven't put them out in a while, and just decided to since I was running a little low on stock. And so I was really glad that that one sold, and those sold together for $45. Now we are at 3 p.m. and our total is $427. So that is really good. Now this day was not as busy as the day before. The day before was pretty busy. This day was just not quite as many people there, not quite as busy, but it was still doing pretty good. And then between 3 and 4, I ended up only selling one item, and it was the blue variegated small cat, and it sold for $15. And we ended up having to leave early again on this day. So they told us a little earlier in the day that we would all need to close early and in the market around 3:45 to 4, which at first I was like kind of sad about it, but they were saying that there were storms coming, not necessarily where we were, but all over the state. There were storms that were going to be coming in the evening, and that a lot of the vendors did not live nearby. Like some of them came from further out in Oklahoma, and some of them even came from Texas. So they wanted to close early so that those people could try to get home before the storm, which I understand that, but I kind of thought that maybe they would just like tell those few people, you guys can leave early since you need to get home and still keep the market open. But then it ended up getting really windy and looking like it might rain. It didn't actually start to rain, but because it was getting really windy, then I was like, okay, yeah, we should probably start closing up early. So it ended up working out okay. I just wish that I would have had the full time for the market, but you know, Oklahoma weather is just so crazy and you never know how it's going to be, and it just changes so quickly. So then we made one more sale while we were packing up. They got a small cat, and this was the gray one. I was glad to sell this one because I thought it was really cute. I used to have a gray cat, which was the Russian blue, and so I thought it was really cute and it looked kind of like him. But this one actually ended up being left at my last couple of markets. I only had two of the small cats left at both of my previous markets, and this gray cat was one of those left over at the end of both of my last markets, so I was glad to see it go at this one. And then they also got my white Leggy Chicky, and this one had embroidered eyes. So they sold for $40 total. The cat was $15, and then the Leggy Chickies, I used to sell them for $30, but I just decided to lower them down to $25, and so it was $40 total. And so that was the last thing that I sold at this market. Oh, and I did forget to mention that it was actually, we were in a tornado watch. So it was okay that we were leaving early because there was a tornado watch. And it ended up, it didn't hit us, but in other parts of the state, there were tornadoes that touched down, and there was also softball-sized hail again, which was crazy. So I am glad that we ended up packing up early, and hopefully everyone was able to make it home before it started storming too much. So my total for day 2 of this market was $482. And then I totaled up my total from this day and from the previous day. So my total for the entire 2-day market combined was $1,162. So I am pretty happy with that. As I said, I really wish I would have had the full time of the market, but with the weather, you know, you can't prevent it. You can't really do anything about it. So I am pretty happy with how this ended. Now, the booth fee on this was higher than the ones that I usually do. So I was expecting, well, not really expecting, but I was hoping to make a little bit more than this. But honestly, my goal was just to make more than I did at my last market, which was my Pride market. And at that one, I made I think almost 1,100 at that market. So my goal for this market was to get over 1,100, and I did make that goal. So that was great. So I did try multiple times to get a video to show how windy it was, but it was crazy. Like the tarps were like blowing like this back and forth, and it was super windy, but every time that it blew really hard, I got my phone out to take a video, then it like stopped. And it was not very windy every single time that I tried to do it. So I don't think I got a great video of how windy it was, but I think I got a video that showed a little bit of wind. So I will put that in. And then I will go ahead and put in the video of my booth after the market. And as you can see, quite a few things are low. I have low stock on quite a few things. I pretty much didn't have stuff underneath to restock most of the smaller items. So I do need to make some more before my next market, but I don't have a market scheduled yet. That was my last one that I have scheduled because I am super busy in the summer and I am not really going to have a lot of time or energy to do a market, at least in June. I might do 1 or 2 in July, but it's going to be super, super hot, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. If I could find an indoor one, that would be great. But anyways, this is what my booth looked like after the market. The chicks are actually more stocked than before because I finished a bunch while I was sitting there. But you can see I only have 2 small cats left and 1 medium cat and no large cats left. So this weekend was a crazy hectic weekend with a lot of like strange things happening. But the market ended up being pretty good and I'm very happy with how much I sold and how much I made. And I will definitely consider doing this one next year. Especially now that I know that I don't have to set up on the Friday before. That makes me more likely to do this one again. So I might do this one next year also. We will see. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. And if you watched all the way until the end, please go leave a heart in the comments so that I know you watched it all. And I really, really appreciate it. I am still working on getting my watch hours up enough to be monetized. So over here, I will put up the video of my last market, which was my Pride market that did really good. But it kind of had some crazy things going on as well. So if you haven't seen that one, you can check that one out. And then over here, I will put up my market vlog playlist. So it has all of my market vlog videos that I've ever made in there. And there's like over 30 of them. So there are a lot for you to check out. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.